One place, everyone here awaiting the arrival of the casket of this officer. At this point, a light rain has begun to fall. We are unclear right at this point if there will be weather that will clear up for this helicopter flyover. But it looks like right now, if the weather continues to be of this nature, then there will not be a helicopter flyover. But again, we are awaiting the arrival of Officer Lay's casket any moment now before this memorial service begins at about 10 o'clock. But right now, things might be delayed a little bit. That's the latest here in Castro Valley. Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
And Henry, let me ask you, this is, we've seen those pictures coming in, and we've seen a flood of law enforcement officers there. In your estimate, being out there and watching that happen throughout this morning, how many officers would you estimate that you've seen come in to this event?
I would say hundreds, if not thousands. I know that the capacity of Three Crosses Church is 3,000 people. We do have officers, dignitaries. I've seen Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao arrive, San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. We see former and current law enforcement officers all here to pay their respects.
Henry, one more question. Because of the weather, I know that they often do motorcycle motorcades. Today, did you see bikes or just cars today?
I did see a contingent of Sunnyvale motor officers arriving earlier today. We saw officers on horseback and again all kinds of police vehicles, from the SUVs to what's known as slick tops, or police cars without their light bars on top, obviously black and white. So officers of all backgrounds and jurisdictions and specialties are certainly here to pay their respects.
Is a continuation of events that really started in the hours after the shooting. People started coming to pay tribute to the officer. I know there was a special Buddhist ceremony just days ago. It's been ongoing.
Right, and yesterday, the past couple of days, there have been private Buddhist ceremonies at Chapel of the Chimes in Oakland. I know there's a private procession from that chapel on Piedmont Avenue in Oakland that is bringing the family to this church, and again, numerous other law enforcement processions from respective cities, all converging here at this point here at Three Crosses Church.
All right, Henry Lee, he's going to be standing by for us as soon as this memorial service gets underway. Of course, the key moment everyone is waiting on right now is for Officer Lay's casket to arrive that will be carrying his body. That has not happened yet, even though the service is supposed to get underway at 10 o'clock this morning. So things are going to be running a little later than usual. Of course, we have to take into consideration the weather that we're having right now as well.
Yeah, we see it raining there on Henry and Castro Valley. A very difficult day, but perhaps some strength in coming together. We are going to bring you special live uninterrupted coverage of Officer Tuan Lay's memorial starting right now here on KTVU.
Good morning. Welcome to KTVU's special coverage of the fallen Officer Tuan Lay's memorial service. Here is a live look right now inside the service, expected to get underway shortly here. And we can see inside, we can see the first row of seats there packed with law enforcement officers. This is a facility that can seat up to 3,000 people. And Henry Lee reporting just a moment ago that hundreds of police officers have already arrived there. So they're going to be filling up a lot of that church. This event is open to the public, of course, seating permitted. And we see a picture there of Officer Tuan Lay. That same photo was erected in the Oakland Police headquarters earlier this week after this tragedy unfolded back on the 29th of December. The officer killed in the line of duty while fighting crime, while doing his job, something officers face the danger of doing every time they step out the door of their homes and get ready to go to work every day. And Officer Tuan Lay falling victim to a crime just about 12 days ago.
Flags are at half-staff across Oakland, and even right outside our studio here in Jack London Square. It is, as you would expect, a somber day in Oakland and the entire Bay Area today as people are gathering to remember Officer Lay's life and service. Just 36 years old when he was shot and killed in the line of duty. He was working as a plainclothes officer responding to a burglary at a cannabis shop south of Jack London Square last month. He was on the Oakland police force for nearly 4 years. Tuan Lay graduated from Oakland High School. He graduated from the Police Academy in February of 2020. For the past 2 years, he served as the Community Resource Officer in West Oakland, and we have heard many stories of his personal connections with people and business owners in that neighborhood. Tuan was born in Vietnam before later moving here to Oakland, again became a U.S. citizen in 2001. He is survived by his wife, who we understand was at his bedside when he died of injuries hours after that shooting.
Yeah, just the details of the story are tragic. They have hit so many people in the gut. Just hearing about how the whole thing transpired, just a man doing his job, and he was out doing it that day when such an unfortunate series of events unfolded that ended with his loss of life. Let's get back out there to the church now, where the memorial service is going to be happening today. We head out to Henry Lee right now. Henry, what can you tell us?
Well, you guys were talking about personal connections. It turns out I was at Officer Tuan Leigh's graduation at the Scottish Rite Temple in Oakland back in February 2020, just as this pandemic was just starting to poke its head. I mean, we had so many people that have been turning out in support of Officer Leigh at the Buddhist ceremony at Oakland's Chinatown, at the private ceremony, of course, the past couple days at Chapel of the Chimes, just an outpouring of support. And his brothers and sisters here with the Oakland Police Department are here standing out in the rain in their dress uniforms and white gloves, just waiting for the flag-draped casket of their fallen brother to arrive. And Officer Leigh, again, he was as comfortable as he was in West Oakland, where he was a community resource officer, as he was in Little Saigon. He was born, as we mentioned, in Saigon and became a naturalized citizen, in fact, on 9/11, and proud to serve his community, proud graduate of Oakland High. So this is a very tragic day for everyone. We understand that outside agencies are patrolling Oakland streets to allow the Oakland Police Department to mourn. We had officers out here standing at attention awaiting their fallen brother, led by Acting Chief Darren Allison, who is expected to speak. We also expect State Attorney General Rob Bonta to address the mourners here, as well as several relatives of Officer Leigh, as well as respected Oakland Police Chaplain Jason Landeza, who unfortunately has a lot of experience dealing with fallen law enforcement here in the Bay Area, guys.
Henry, someone has covered law enforcement and crime across the Bay Area for so many years here in the Bay Area. I was thinking about the night that this all happened and what Officer Leigh's primary duties were. You said a moment ago he was a community resource officer. So how does this transition to work in undercover, perhaps in his off hours? Can you explain how that process works?
Yeah, on that morning of December 29th, and just to go back and recap what happened, there was a series of burglaries at this cannabis business at 5th and Embarcadero along the waterfront, not far from Jack London Square and in fact our studios. And during that third response, Officer Leigh was in plain clothes, undercover, in an unmarked Nissan Frontier with another undercover officer. When they came under fire, Officer Leigh put that Nissan in reverse, sped out of the parking lot of that business, only to be chased down by two men, one of whom opened fire, and Officer Leigh was struck and killed, and that Nissan came crashing into another parked car near 9th and Embarcadero. That second officer was injured in that crash. Officers put Officer Leigh in a car, police car, and rushed him directly to Highland Hospital. They did not wait for an ambulance. Time is of the essence. We have seen this, unfortunately, time and time again, where when an injured officer needs immediate help, they take him or her directly to a hospital and do not wait for an ambulance to come here. So on that morning, there were actually a series of burglaries, but at this point, they have arrested the alleged gunman as well as the driver who had been chasing those officers. Both have been arrested and charged with special circumstance murder, which means if convicted, they could potentially face life in prison without the possibility of parole if convicted.
Really underscores the risk that all members of any police department face. Many people, Henry, think of a community resource officer as, showing up to National Night Out and heading up the pancake breakfast, but then also being called to do things like this that ultimately end in the ultimate sacrifice. Henry, if I can ask you, I don't think you were quite with KTVU yet. At the time, Oakland police suffered their most recent loss from the police department before this one, and that was, of course, back in March of 2009 when 4 members of OPD were gunned down in one incident there in East Oakland. So much of what we're already seeing today leads me to recall what we saw play out that day at the Oakland Coliseum. So much of this is similar anytime you have a law enforcement death in the line of work. I read somewhere, and I'm hoping you can help, kind of boost this up a little, or tell us more. Is it true that every member of the Oakland Police Department has to essentially fill out a form that says, in the event of my death, this is what I would like to happen. This is, who I want to be there at the service. This is what kind of service I want. Does this sound at all familiar to what you've learned in all your years of covering law enforcement?
Yeah, that is my understanding. And of course, it's a sad state of affairs. Again, listen, law enforcement officers, they go to work not knowing if they'll come back to their families or friends. So the Oakland Police Union, the police union of the respective agencies, they take at the forefront to take care of the officers' families, their colleagues, if and when this unfortunate kind of situation happens. So again, this is a brotherhood, a sisterhood, where people come together and embrace each other. It doesn't matter if you knew Officer Lay or not, and whether or not you're current or former OPD. There is a saying here at the department, once OPD, always OPD. So they will come in droves to help their fallen officers and their colleagues. I was at the Chronicle back in 2009 when the 4 officers were shot and killed in a single day, 2 distinct bursts of gunfire. The parolee that they were looking for, Lavelle Mixon, was shot and killed. And I was also at the funeral for those 4 fallen officers. Again, very tragic day, the single deadliest day in department history. And again, this is the first on-duty, line-of-duty death since that tragic day in March 2009.
Henry, you just said once OPD, always OPD. I know, Andre, you and I called a number of people we know from OPD over the years, and we said, might they be able to come in and talk with us? Every single the former chiefs, former sergeants, everyone we reached out to said, I am going to be there. So that really does speak to exactly what you described. Yeah.
Henry, I want to talk to you a little bit about the suspects in this case, since you covered this case. We have 27-year-old Demetrius Sanders and Alan Brown, a 28-year-old. Give us an update on that, and we also understand that the mother of one of the suspects was also talked to by police. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, at this point, they have not decided to charge the mother of the suspected gunman, Mark Sanders. She was arrested Friday, but was released from custody without charges after the DA declined to file. That's not to say, however, that she could not face charges at a later date, but because there's this 72-hour decision, a time deadline, if you will, to charge if someone's in custody, they chose to cut her loose, and then the possibility exists that she could be charged later. But again, Mark Sanders, alleged gunman, and the alleged getaway driver, Alan Starr Brown, both being held at Santa Rita Jail in Dublin without bail, facing a charge of special circumstance murder. Those 2 men and a third individual have all been charged with the burglary of that cannabis business at 5th and Embarcadero at this point. So again, those criminal proceedings are ongoing and will probably be ongoing for quite a while. And again, the possibility exists that other suspects are in custody. I have reviewed court records. A couple other names have popped up. Those individuals have not yet been formally charged.
Yeah, the third suspect you're talking about, Henry, 28-year-old Sabron Ray Russell, he has been charged with burglary by the prosecutors in this case. Henry, we saw the photos, the mugshots, if you will, of the 2 suspects that police now have in custody. It is not normal for police to release the pictures of suspects in crimes. This is pretty significant, wouldn't you say, that police decided to release the photos of at least 2 of these men who were involved, wasn't it?
Yeah, the rules regarding mugshot release differ from county to county. I know SFPD does not. Alameda County actually does once those suspects are charged. Now, at this point, yeah, very serious case indeed. We have concerns initially that the district attorney may not file any special circumstance, especially the special circumstance of murder of a police officer. Now, that special circumstance was not lodged rather, because the defense could arguably argue that these 2 suspects did not know that they were going after police officers, being that they were undercover and in plain clothes. However, District Attorney Pamela Price did charge these two suspects with the special circumstance of drive-by murder, that is, that Sanders allegedly fired from a moving vehicle, so that puts LWOP, or life without parole, on the table if these men are convicted of murder.
Henry, you know, you're giving us this most up-to-date information on the prosecution against those believed to have carried out this killing. However, do you expect any of this at all to come up during today's memorial service? I imagine, you know, we're hearing from the Attorney General, we're hearing from the interim police chief there at OPD, we're hearing from the cousin, uncle, and brother-in-law of Officer Tuan. I imagine, and perhaps I would hope, that it's all about him as an officer and as a person, as an Oaklander.
Absolutely. I can almost guarantee you, Garcia, that the names of these suspects will not be uttered. They will not be referred to in any shape or form other than perhaps some epithets. At this point, again, the day is for Officer Tuan to remember his sacrifice. He paid the ultimate sacrifice protecting the citizens of Oakland. And so that is why you have this outpouring of support. Brothers and sisters in uniform, out of uniform, from every single agency you can think of, coming here to Castro Valley to pay their respects.
Henry, behind you right now, as we set the scene, as we wait for Officer Tuan's casket to arrive, can you describe what is happening right behind you? We see all those officers lined up with their white gloves on. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, we have rows of officers, Oakland police officers, awaiting a formal inspection, formation, presentation of arms. Behind us, you see this giant American flag hung between two ladder trucks with local fire departments. Again, the ultimate honor for Officer Tuan. And again, we have seen Acting Chief, Interim Chief Darren Allison from Oakland Police Department, followed by Deputy Chief. So we understand the motorcade is coming with the flag-draped casket of Officer Tuan. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Henry, we're watching that play out right now, and we're waiting. The motorcade is just arriving there at Three Crosses Church, where you are right now. So it's going to take a few minutes for that process to transpire, for the hearse to pull up to the church there. We see all those officers there following, escorting the hearse into Three Crosses parking lot church, where it'll be taken into the sanctuary there at Three Crosses for the memorial service that's going to be getting underway, of course, a little bit late today. And we see live inside the sanctuary right now on the stage that picture of Officer Tuan surrounded by flowers right now. And
as stark and as somber as this picture is, I think I can speak for anyone who has been witness to, especially a law enforcement memorial service, that it is a stark reminder when the casket enters the house of worship that there is a person there who, again, went to work that day, put on the uniform, or in this case, you know, put on the plain clothes, and expected to come home to his wife, and didn't. And as this attack unfolded in the early morning hours of December 29th, I remember it started with a large police presence just south of Jack London Square, and over the hours as it grew, we saw more and more law enforcement, and not just OPD. We saw California Highway Patrol officers, we saw Alameda County sheriffs, and we all got the sense that something terrible had happened to warrant that sort of a response. And then, of course, taking the officer, a fellow officer, took Officer Tuan to the hospital, where he was given emergency treatment. Unfortunately, he died there in the hospital with his wife, next to him members of OPD. His mother was also at his bedside. Really just to underscore that all police work is dangerous, and especially for someone who was at OPD for 4 years, working largely as a community service officer in West Oakland. I've read so many accounts online, Andre, people saying, he came to our national night out, oh, he came to our little block party. I had his cell phone number in my phone. Those personal accounts, people knew they could count on Officer Lay, and so this loss hurts them so deeply.
It certainly does. I want to show you a tweet sent out by the Oakland Fire Department just a short time ago here. The Oakland Fire Department said in the tweet it's honored to join the procession to honor the life and service of Officer Tuan. We will have personnel and apparatus lining freeway overpasses from Oakland to the funeral service in Castro Valley to support the Oakland Police Department and the Lay family. You can see the tweet right there on your screen. And we saw earlier, if you're crew with us during the 9 o'clock hour. The apparatus was extended. The American flag was draped down as part of the service that was happening. I can tell you this, that there was a memorial. It was more of a private for family and members of law enforcement that happened last weekend. Media was not allowed to attend, but the remnants of that gathering remain along Embarcadero. So it's right by the Starbucks where I'll go to get my coffee in the morning at the Estuary Cove, right there, and you'll see the candles, lots of candles and flowers that were left behind from that memorial that happened a couple of days after Officer Lay passed away. So the signs are there, you see it, you're reminded of it, you know, where you go in Oakland about just this tragic loss of life and the impact his life had on the community, and just the amount of emotion this has stirred amongst members of law enforcement, and of course his family as well.
Now, if we could sort of walk through what we expect to happen in the coming minutes, the hearse carrying Officer Lay's casket has arrived there at the church in Castro Valley. When it emerges from the vehicle, of course, we'll be silent. We'll watch it together with you. We are going to bring you his memorial service in its entirety, uninterrupted. Again, we expect to hear from California's Attorney General. We expect to hear from speakers from Officer Lay's family, including his cousin, uncle, brother-in-law, OPD's honor guard. Interesting that we're going to be hearing from the OPD, longtime OPD chaplain, Reverend Jason Landeza. He is a man who has lived in Oakland for decades. He has been there for not just OPD, but for the people of Oakland. He responds to crime scenes. He holds, grieving mothers in his arms. He's also, he's the pastor of a local Oakland church, and so he holds, service weekly as well, and he'll attend the pancake breakfast. I've actually had a number of chances to meet with him. He is, when I say he is the sweetest man, I cannot underscore that enough. And to know all the grief he has seen, all the terror and tragedy that has happened in the city of Oakland that he absorbs and he tries to take away from those who are feeling it most. And I have to say, he's a very moving speaker. If you are able to stay with us as we're expecting to bring you, his remarks throughout the morning, it's just incredible how one man can be so giving of himself to Oakland. So again, he's one of the people we expect to hear from, Reverend Jason Landeza.
Yeah, but a city does need someone like him.
Absolutely, and it's grateful to have him.
Very fortunate to have someone like him that is there and that can provide some comfort in very, very tough times. All right, Allie Rasmus, she is back out live on the scene for us this morning as the motorcade has just pulled up, the hearse with Officer Lay's body in the casket there, just pulling up to that church just a short time ago. Allie Rasmus, you were right there when the motorcade procession started rolling in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Andre, the CHP had stopped traffic for a good 5 to 10 minutes at Strobridge and Castro Valley Boulevard, which is usually a big intersection, to let this long line of police vehicles and motorcycles following and escorting the hearse that was coming from Chapel of the Chimes, which is in Oakland, coming all the way here to Castro Valley, because this is a church. The Three Crosses Church has capacity for 3,000 people, and we have seen law enforcement officers and mourners in the hundreds walking up this driveway, kind of alongside all the police cars that you're seeing here, Daly City Police, but we've also seen police vehicles from as far away as San Diego County, Fresno County. We also saw some mounted police officers on horseback riding up the driveway to this church for this public memorial. We've also seen some people who work and live nearby kind of coming out to watch this procession. You can see we're next to a Stanford medicine clinic here, and there have been a group of people kind of from inside that clinic coming out to watch. We've also seen some parents and kids watching. They've since left. There's a daycare nearby here, and there's other people just coming with their phones and their cameras. Very somber out here, very quiet as these vehicles drive up to the Three Crosses Church here in Castro Valley. That is, of course, where this memorial service will be taking place. It was supposed to start at 10 o'clock, but I think because of all the law enforcement officers and this motorcade of dozens and dozens of officers driving up, and all the mourners expected to attend this memorial service. It's taken a while, especially in this kind of weather, to get everyone situated. I know parking is full at the church, and so over the last hour, we've seen law enforcement officers and other people attending kind of park along the side here. In the last hour, we've seen people in uniform park blocks away and walk in the rain to make their way to this church. But again, memorial set to start once everyone gets situated. You can see people and attendees, mourners still making their way to the Three Crosses Church for this public memorial. Andrea and Garcia, back to you.
Ali, you said it's a very quiet, somber day, which is what we'd expect. Did you happen to have a chance to talk with any of the arriving officers, perhaps from those outside of the Bay Area or Oakland, as to, you know, certainly we understand why they're there, but their feelings when it comes to making sure that they're there for this?
Well, most kind of kept to themselves. You know, you can kind of sense in these situations if you approach someone and they don't want to talk, and you just understandably, you know, back off at that moment. But there was a retired Oakland police officer that we did speak to that he started, he said, back in 1979. He retired in 2007, and he continued to work as a reserve officer for Oakland Police. And so he was walking up in full uniform, and he spoke about this young group of officers and how this is obviously very traumatic for them to experience this with one of their colleagues. He pointed out that it's been almost 15 years since a Oakland police officer was killed in the line of duty. So for a new generation of OPD officers, he said this is obviously very impactful. We also spoke with a representative from a law enforcement agency that kind of represents different law enforcement officers across different agencies. And he said that there's always this spirit of camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood when you have these memorials, when something like this happens to an officer. And so that's why every time you see a big turnout in support of an officer killed in the line of duty. And that's why we've seen officers from as far away as San Diego and Merced, and actually as far north as Redding. So
Ali, we want to jump in real quick. Don't mean to interrupt. We want to jump in real quick because we do have someone at the podium inside the service who want to listen in and hear what they're saying right now.
In case of need, please follow their directions throughout the service, especially in the unexpected event of an emergency. I would also invite you to make sure to turn off or silence your cell phones, radios, pagers, or any other electronic device at this time. Please remember that the use of cameras, video, or other recording devices is strictly prohibited during today's service.
We're listening in to OPD Chaplain Jason Landeza, sort of, you know, giving instructions, if you will, to those people who are assembled. He is going to be one of the main speakers during today's memorial service for OPD Officer Tuan, who was killed in line of duty back on December 29th. The Chaplain Landeza has been a Catholic priest for 23 years. For those 2 decades plus, he has been responding to crime scenes. He has been attending vigils. He has been helping the men and women of OPD and a number of other law enforcement agencies around the Bay Area deal with what they see every single day, and now he is helping members of OPD get through this most recent tragic incident that has taken the life of one of their fellow officers. Yeah,
those instructions are very much needed right now, because as I'm watching this picture here, it's just a non-stop flow of traffic of people coming to this memorial service. You know, as we said throughout the morning, this is a place that seats 3,000 people, and we are seeing that fill up right now. If you were just going with the law enforcement officers, it's going to be filled with them. Members of the public as well. It's going to be filled with a lot of them as well that are going to be coming here to watch this happen. In just a few minutes, when things do get situated, we're supposed to hear from Larry Vold, Pastor Emeritus for Three Crosses Church, and Alameda County Fire Chaplain as well. Things are getting ready to get underway, and we understand the casket should be coming in any moment now for the memorial service to officially get underway.
When that begins, of course, we will stay silent and watch it together with you. We'll mention that we are going to be hearing for the first time, I believe, publicly from some members of the fallen officer's family. So we'll get to hopefully learn more about him. We've heard so much about his police work and his connection to the community. Unfortunately, so much of this knowledge comes from tragedy. A lot of people saying, oh, hey, look, you know, he was my guy for 2 years. He was in my neighborhood. I know him. And it's stories like that that sometimes don't come out until after a tragedy happens. happens. So again, we do hope to hear more about the fuller picture of Officer Tuan. We know he came to Oakland as an immigrant from Vietnam. He graduated from Oakland High School. He's been with OPD for 4 years, leaves behind a wife who was with him the moment he died there in the hospital. So just very, very, very tragic, but I think important for us to be here in that sense that this is a member of our community. We're grateful that you're here with us watching it all as it unfolds.
You just mentioned a moment ago that often we don't hear those good stories until after a tragic event like this, and it's a good reminder to live in the moment, doesn't it? I mean, you know, you're talking about an officer here that had such an impact, and not many people, unless you'd interacted with them, knew his name outside of, you know, the folks that he helped in the community. But it's important to remember that, you know, you're talking about someone that's doing their job just like you go to work and do your job every day, and you don't expect things like this. Although police officers are aware of the danger, but they, you know, it's still a tragic event nonetheless when you hear about it, especially in the circumstances in which it's been reported and how he lost his life, and what he was trying to do that day was prevent crime to a business in Oakland. He was just trying to stop that from happening, keep those business owners from losing any of their merchandise, protecting the community. That is the job of a police officer, and that is what he was out there doing that night. And it's just, you know, these times where you have to remember to live life in the moment and appreciate the people that are in your life at the moment, and let them know it when they are there, because you never know what can happen from one day to the next. And I'm sure, you know, that's not exactly what he or his family or anyone from the force expected to happen that day when it did happen. We're looking live again inside the sanctuary right now. We could be getting close here from our understanding because the casket is nearby, and we just had the chaplain of the Oakland Police Department just give a speech just a moment ago, and we see officers going in one by one into the church right now as we wait for the ceremony to get underway.
And you can tell just by the way they're walking, this is not your average, you know, this is not a stroll, this is not your average gait. So sincerely does look as if things are about to start. I don't know if these are, you know, those officers who were perhaps closest to Officer Lay, you know, might they be members of OPD brass? We're not sure at this point. But again, we know that he was surrounded with his, you know, fellow OPD members there in his hospital bed the moment that he died, alongside his wife, of course, who is grieving the loss of her husband. I think a lot of people would agree that it takes a special person to live and work in Oakland. We have, you know, any number of police officers from every department who work in one city and live in another, and sometimes you'll hear them say, oh, I can't live in the same city where I serve. I need to escape that city, whatever that city is. Wasn't the case for Officer Tuan Lay. He grew up in Oakland, graduated from Oakland High. He was proud to serve his community. Again, I've just, you know, kind of been doing a deep dive online and social media. So many people saying he was warm, he was friendly, a lot of references to his great big smile, which we've seen in photographs, obviously, from his past. So, you know, he left a mark on Oakland, specifically in West Oakland, and unfortunately now his story is capped with the ultimate sacrifice and great sorrow. But again, hopefully we're hoping to learn more about, you know, maybe some of the happier moments or other moments in his life that really made him into the person people could love, people could trust, people could turn to, which certainly sounds like he was for so many people, especially there in West Oakland.
Yeah, so if you don't know who he was, you'll learn about it today, and we'll hear some of those stories that you've heard bits and pieces of. But when we listen to family members, his cousin, his brother-in-law, his uncle, we're going to definitely hear about his life as a police officer, and his life at home too. His life that you know, he lived in Oakland when he's not on the job every day, helping out the people in the community. We'll learn about the man that we all know now as Officer Tuan Lay. One of the first big speakers that are going to be speaking there, Attorney General Rob Bonta. He's going to be giving a speech there, and then the interim police chief of Oakland Police Department, Darren Ellison. We can tell you that DA Pamela Price, Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price, she is there in the building as well, and so is Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao. While they are there, they're not scheduled to speak today at this event. It's going to be reserved for mostly family here, and when it does get underway here in just a moment, we've seen several memorial services, gatherings for Officer Lay over the past few days, and we did have that one that took place just a few days ago over at the Oakland's Chinatown at the Renaissance Center, in which there was a Buddhist ceremony that was held in his honor there as well. He was Buddhist, and that ceremony was held there for him. It's just one of a several series of ceremonies that happened over the last several days since his passing 12 days ago.
As we are again waiting for the memorial service to begin, if I could, I'd like to bring in our reporter Henry Lee, who's live just outside there, the Three Crosses Church in Castro Valley. Henry, and I'll ask you this, with the caveat that we may have to, interrupt and let you go once the casket with Officer Lay arrives. It's interesting to me that he became an Oakland police officer, graduated the police academy in February of 2020, about 4 years ago. If we think back to that time, boy, everything has changed since then. In Oakland, when it comes to policing, the change that Officer Lay must have seen and gone through in his relatively short time at OPD is just incredible. You remember that May, there were huge protests in Oakland and nationwide over a police killing in the Midwest. It's just incredible what he had seen in that short time. And again, he chose to live and work in Oakland.
Yeah, it was a tumultuous time across the nation, and also in Oakland we had COVID just rearing its head. I was at the 183rd Police Academy graduation where Officer Tuan Lay did graduate. It was just a couple days or so after former Chief Ann Kirkpatrick was sacked, so it was a lot of unknowns at that time. And of course now we have his untimely passing with officers here awaiting the casket of Officer Lay. And you hit the nail right on the head. It is just a sad situation for the department, still reeling in some sense with the loss of 4 officers back in 2009. Major turnover in chiefs. Interim Chief Allison, who we will hear from later today, has been in this position before as interim chief, still without a top cop. So a lot to deal with for this department, which is still under the federal oversight because of the 2000-2003 Oakland Riders misconduct scandal, still under this federal oversight. So again, this is certainly very deeply hurting for a department still grappling with a number of challenges.
It's interesting, Henry, and I've talked to many Oaklanders, and many people can talk about, the police department as if it's one big unit, right? But when you ask about the officer who's in their neighborhood or the person who comes by their shop every day, it's that personal connection where people soften and smile and say, oh, Officer so-and-so, he's great, or Officer so-and-so, she's the best. And, it's that personal connection that helps, improve lives and also change minds about how people think of, of an entity that's not just one person or one being. And it sounds like Officer Lay was certainly, on the right side of that effort.
Yeah, we must not overlook the simple fact that Officer Tuan Lay is a Vietnamese American naturalized citizen. He looked like many people in the Asian American community. I was at that Buddhist ceremony at Oakland Chinatown to make clear, although he is of Vietnamese descent, the broader Asian American community regarded him as one of their own, whether you're Laotian, Cambodian, Chinese, you speak Mandarin or Cantonese. He spoke Vietnamese and was proud to do so. But again, there was a time when there was few Asian Americans in police departments in the Bay Area. Right now, looking at these lines of officers, there are so many young Asian American officers, male and female officers of every background and description, all coming here to support their fallen brother. And again, to make clear, Officer Tuan Lay, so proud to be an Asian American police officer here serving Oakland.
Henry, we talk about police officers and the job that they do, but can you really, and I know you talk to many police officers throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month in your job. Can you talk about the difficulties of the job on these officers, and particularly the difficulties of going through something like this?
Especially in Oakland, and to make clear, you can be with a little child, comforting him or her because of an abusive situation in one moment. The next hour, then you're at a community fair handing out stickers, and then a half hour later, responding to an officer needs help or someone with a gun. firing shots at people. It is just wild out here in Oakland. To be an Oakland police officer takes a special breed of officer, no doubt about it. You have different agencies across the Bay Area and the state, but I would argue that Oakland police see so much activity, so much heartache and violence in a single day compared to other agencies. So again, once OPD, always OPD. That's why you see a lot of current and retired former officers here to support Officer Lay.
And Henry, in the last 12 days since this has happened, I know you've spoken to officers about what's happened here. What are you hearing from them? Can you share what is going through their mind at this point? What went through their mind when they heard this happen, and what they're going through right now?
Well, on that early morning, I was listening to the police radio later on. Lieutenant got on the air and said, we have an officer down. He called for a 940B, which is Oakland Police Radio, because our officer needs help. And when you hear that over the radio, you drop everything. You stop, you go to the scene, you help whoever's in need. And, in this situation, the lieutenant said, just grab that officer, go to Highland Hospital, don't wait for an ambulance. So it was a very traumatic scene, both uniform and undercover officers, also known as unders, all here trying to stop what turned out to be 3 separate break-ins at the same cannabis business at 5th and Embarcadero. And make no doubt about it, Oakland and the Bay Area and the whole region has been hit hard by these cannabis dispensary burglaries. You got carloads of roving caravans of people just going to these dispensaries and not caring if they're security or police. A police officer in Oakland shot and killed a dispensary burglary suspect. Others have shot and wounded security guards. I mean, this is no joke. This is a serious outbreak of violence related to cannabis dispensaries and burglaries in general.
And Henry, we see a little bit of movement behind you, so again, we may have to cut you loose any second here. Did any of the officers you spoke to in the past week or half, actually, you know what, we'll have to put you on pause because one of the hallmarks, if you will, of a police memorial is beginning. That is, of course, is the sound of bagpipes. So let's hold it here and watch and listen together the memorial service for Oakland police officer Twan Lay.
Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Emeritus of Three Crosses Church and Alco Fire Department Chaplain Larry Vold for the welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Father Jason. On behalf of the Three Crosses family, I want to offer a heartfelt welcome to all who have gathered here today, to Sarah and the entire Lee family, to the Oakland Police Department family, to every law enforcement agency represented here today, both locally and around our country, to elected officials, to every guest and every person in this place, we welcome you as we honor the life of our fallen hero, Twan Lee. We open the doors of our facility today as a tangible expression of God's love for hurting people. And we are all struck today, emotionally distraught by the events that have taken place. We are saddened, hurt, anxious, even angry, wanting things like this to stop. There's something in all of us that yearns for a society where this kind of violence and evil simply never happens. We cry out for change, for the terrible brokenness we experience all around us to be healed. May our gathering here today be a necessary first step toward the healing we need and long for. Some of us are angry toward God. I understand this, and I believe God does too. And He knows when anger is constructive and when it is self-destructive. I'm praying that all of us today might release our fears and perhaps even any self-destructive anger, and receive what God may have for us. You see, God is near the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The church worldwide believes that God sent His only Son, Jesus, whose birth we've recently celebrated, to enter this broken world and experience it Himself. In fact, even taking on the brokenness of our world to provide the ultimate remedy by giving Himself as a willing sacrifice to die on that cross for the sins of the world, and then rising from the grave to prove His power and love so that all may be forgiven and have new life through faith in Him. Allow me to pray for our gathering today. Father in heaven, hallowed be Thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done. We cry out to You for the healing all of us need, and we ask You to comfort Sarah and the Lee family and her extended OPD family and all those who are in law enforcement and everyone gathered here today. We ask You to infuse our words with Your presence so that together by our collective gathering here today, healing might happen. Thank You for every officer present here. Thank You for their courage and strength as they serve our community. On days like this, we realize that their service may demand making the ultimate sacrifice. And so we cry out for Your mercy and protection. Help us, Lord, not to be overcome by evil, but to overcome evil with good. Remind us that those who mourn will be comforted, and that You are the great comforter, a present help in time of trouble, a strong tower to which all sinners and sufferers can run for refuge. Finally, Lord, remind us that while it's difficult for us to be here today, it's good that we are. So speak to us, and in the quietness of our hearts, draw all of us closer to You. I pray this in the name of Your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Vold. Xin chào. On behalf of the family of Officer Tuan Lee and the entire Oakland Police Department, I'd like to welcome all of you to this memorial service. It is with profound sadness that we gather here this day to honor the life and the service of our fallen brother Twan. We've come together from many places and from many backgrounds, whether a family member or a friend, a fellow Oakland police officer, an officer from another agency, an elected official, or a concerned citizen. We've all come here to pay our respects for the service that Twan has given us. We find comfort and consolation in the fact that so many of us have gathered here to remember and to give thanks for Twan's life. I would like to especially thank all the allied agencies that have given so much time, effort, personnel, and support to the Oakland Police Department these past few days, and for all of their contributions to this memorial service. I would also like to thank so many wonderful people from throughout our community, our state, and our country who have offered their condolences and their support for Twan's family and friends, and their willingness to stand with the women and men of the Oakland Police Department during this very tragic time. Today, we remember Twan, who made the ultimate sacrifice by giving his life in the pursuit of that noble cause, protecting the residents of Oakland. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce the Honorable Rob Bonta, Attorney General of the State of California.
Hello, I'm Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. I first want to say thank you all for being here to show your love, your support, your admiration, and your respect. I join you in that. As a California Attorney General, as a proud East Bay resident, and on behalf of my partner in life, my partner in service, my wife, Assemblymember Mia Bonta, who represents Oakland, it's a solemn honor to be with you today to mourn the loss and remember the life of one of Oakland's finest, Officer Tuan Lay. To recognize his service, his sacrifice, and his love. I didn't have the privilege or the opportunity to personally know Officer Lay, but I didn't have to in order to know that he loved this city and that this city loved him. In the wake of his passing, so many of you have shared moving condolences and heartfelt memories about this fallen hero. You've spoken about his big smile and his kind and generous spirit, about his passion for Oakland and his dedication to serving the community he loved so much, about the work he led to build trust and strengthen ties between the Asian community and the Oakland Police Department. Officer Lay was hardworking, dependable, driven by a desire to keep his neighbors safe. As Chief Law Enforcement Officer to this great state, as a former legislative representative of Oakland and a proud member of this community, I can ask for nothing more. Officer Lay paid the ultimate price, the ultimate sacrifice. We will never forget that. Nor will we forget all that his wife and his mother lost, all that his family and his friends have lost. Proudly donning a uniform, pinning a badge to your chest, and going into the world in service of others takes a tremendous amount of courage And it takes even more love. Love of community, love of neighbors, of duty. For as Scripture wisely teaches us, no one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. California is in debt to the brave law enforcement officers who put their lives on the line each day. Forever in debt to those who traded all of their tomorrows in service to their fellow Californians. And let us not forget the courage, love, and selflessness of the families and friends who send our law enforcement officers out into the world with no guarantees of their return. California will never forget all that you, too, sacrifice. Our fallen heroes, heroes like Officer Lay, live on in the loved ones they left behind. As we grieve, let us vow to remember all the good this young man, gone far too soon, did for others, for Oakland. Let us remember his beauty, his bright light. Let us keep this son of Oakland, this fallen hero, in our hearts and in our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is my privilege to introduce Chief Darren Allison, Chief of the Oakland Police Department.
First, I want to extend my deepest sympathies to Sarah, Han, and all of Twan and Sarah's extended family and loved ones gathered here today. Your hurt is our hurt. Your grief is our grief. Every member of the Oakland Police Department feels the pain of your loss. And I, along with the entire department, stand before you completely brokenhearted. To all the first responders here today and those that stepped in to assist and show support during this critical time, I can't thank you enough. Your support means so much to the family, to me, and the members of our department. In a memorial address, President John F. Kennedy stated, "A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers." Today, we remember the best of us, Officer Tuan Lay. December 29th, 2023, a date permanently etched in our memory. A date when we heard over the radio, over the phone, or in the hallways that one of our own had been critically wounded by a heinous act. Words that all of us dread to hear, but cause us to move into action. This date will be remembered as a time when a life was cut short and a career ended too soon. A husband, a son, a family member, a friend, a police officer who had so much more to do and so much more to give. A date that not only brought mourning to a family and a department, but also a community. A date that brings us all here today to pay respect and to honor our courageous hero. But although this date is associated with the grief of loss, we need to remember and share our stories of Officer Lay. Stories we shared at yesterday's ceremony. These stories, our treasured memories, will carry on his legacy. Those that knew Twan described him as funny, loyal, responsible, hardworking, honest, full of integrity, and compassion. Compassion. All these qualities are important for a police officer, but compassion, true care and empathy for others, it's a critical trait to be an effective police officer. And Officer Lay personified what it was to exude a deep compassion for his law enforcement family and the community he chose to serve. But he wasn't just a compassionate and courageous police officer. He was a devoted and loving husband to his wife, Sarah, a loving son to his mother, Han, and a proud grandson to his grandfather, Mr. Lay, and his grandmother, Miss Nguyen. He was a treasured part of the family and a valued friend. Tuan Lay was born on June 1st, 1987 in Saigon, Vietnam. He moved to the United States at the age of 7 with his mom and settled in Oakland, California. In 2006, he graduated from Oakland High, and early on he demonstrated a desire to serve and protect. It was in his DNA. You see, Twan's grandfather had been a police officer in Vietnam, and Twan vowed to become a police officer just like him. And in 2019, he applied to the Oakland Police Department and entered the 183rd Oakland Police Recruit Academy. It was a dream come true for Twan. He completed the academy on February 21st, 2020, and although his grandfather had passed away prior to his graduation, Twan knew he had made him proud. I happen to distinctly remember Twan's graduation because it happened to be the first academy class I personally presided as an acting chief of police. And I'll tell you, I don't remember who was more nervous as I pinned his badge on his chest, whether it was him or me, but I distinctly recall how carefully I pinned the badge, careful not to drop it or poke him with the pin. But as I successfully pinned his badge, I remember the newly minted Oakland police officer, Tuan Lay, and his broad smile as he beamed with pride in achieving his lifelong dream. He has such a memorable smile. From that day forward, Twan loved being an Oakland police officer. However, with Twan's lifelong fascination with fire, as you can see in the pyrotechnics outside, and his love of food, I'm sure at sometimes Sarah wondered why he didn't either become a chef or join the fire department. And no offense to my fire department brothers and sisters who are here, Twan knew he was in the right profession. He had a true heart for service. His desire to better the lives of others was ingrained in his identity. It was just simply who he was as a person. After serving in patrol, Twan transferred to our community resource officer position, which makes sense because of his desire and his commitment to helping people. In that role, he worked directly with community to improve their quality of life, enhance safety, and strengthen relationships. His tireless efforts in fostering positive relationships made a lasting impact. I received numerous calls and emails from residents on his community policing being appreciative of his service and lauding his efforts. Just recently, on December 15th, Officer Lay was one of a team of officers who received the John Grabinski Medal for his quick thinking and actions, which contributed to saving the life of another law enforcement professional who was experiencing a major heart attack. This award historically is given to members who demonstrate initiative or courage when attempting to render life-saving medical aid to another. It's in honor of Officer John Grabinski, who died in the line of duty attempting to rescue a family during the Oakland Hills fire in 1991. The award received by Officer Lay is a testament to who he is as a person and as an officer. Proactive, determined, thoughtful, and courageous, a true hero. It's clear Twan truly cared for others and consistently gave of his time and energy. He didn't do it because he had to. He did it because he wanted to. He demonstrated a sense of purpose even with the challenges of this career. And with Sarah as support, he knew exactly what he was getting into and was willing and able to accept these challenges. You know, it takes a special person to do this job, and Twan exemplified the distinct character and courage to do this job well. And to his mom, Han, you raised a great son, a very special person, and I know you're proud. In this moment of grief, I've reflected on the law enforcement profession, and I think that's normal in this time. With all the challenges, frustrations, and sacrifices, people often wonder, why do we do what we do? The job is difficult, it's dangerous, and oftentimes uncertain. We have talented people in law enforcement, and they can do anything else. What I know to be true is we don't do it for the fame or the fortune. There are easier ways to earn a living. But why do we do it? The long hours, the late nights, the never-ending work, constant second-guessing, the risk. The saying that many are called but few are chosen is true in this profession. But again, why do we do it? If this is how it ends, why do we answer the call? I'll tell you why we answer the call. We do it for people. We do it to serve and protect and defend those who cannot. We do it for our families. We do it for your families, so they can have a good life where they can live and thrive from the brokenness that plagues our world. We do it for the person to the left of us and to the person to the right of us who are defending and holding the line alongside us. It is who we are. It is what we do. Brothers and sisters in policing, there's nothing quite like it. This profession is not glamorous, but it's necessary for a safe and orderly society. Officer Lay knew why he did this job. He knew that people depended on him, that without him, there would be chaos in the world. It's a calling that only a few can understand. A calling that involves truly caring about the welfare of others and the greater good. I read a quote that said, "Immortality is to live your life doing good things and leaving your mark behind." Although the loss of Officer Lay leaves a void in our department and in our community, and he will be missed, his legacy of courage, compassion, service, and sacrifice, it'll be immortal. Officer Lay left his mark on our department and in our community. His kindness, his loyalty, and his smile will remain in our memories. A true hero, he'll never be forgotten. And in an age when some question the commitment and integrity of our profession, we know that Twan did his duty, unwavering and unafraid, protecting our community and seeking justice for victims harmed by criminals. And to honor the memory of Officer Lay, we must continue to do the same, to follow his legacy of courage, compassion, and service, thereby creating a safer and more hopeful society. For everyone that knew Twan, the time you spent with him is precious. It has created memories. I encourage everyone to lean on these memories, recalling stories of joy and laughter, love and friendship, stories that created unbreakable bonds forged with shared experiences. These memories, these stories will provide comfort in this time of despair. To the serving law enforcement members, those who answer the call, I remember a statement that the former First Lady Barbara Bush made. It's very relevant to how you live your life, and I think it applies to us, especially in law enforcement. She said that at the end of your life, you will never regret not having passed one more test, not winning one more verdict, or not closing one more deal, or in our case, making one more arrest or signing up for one more overtime shift. However, you will regret time not spent with a spouse, a friend, a child, or a parent. So for everyone here who serve, who protect our communities from harm, before you embark on your next shift, kiss your spouse, hug your children, spend a little more time with your parents, family, and friends. If you're frustrated, try to resolve it. Never remain in anger, and make the most of the life you've been given. To my beloved members of the Oakland Police Department, as we gather here today to honor our fallen hero, I honor you for your courage, strength, and dedication to the community and to our department. Tragically, during my career, 10 of our OPD brothers, including Twan, have made the ultimate sacrifice. Each loss has taken a piece of me, a piece of my heart, a piece of my soul that I'll never get back. But what do? We carry on. We continue to show up. Despite the pain and the hurt, because people depend on us. And I've learned over the years that we will make it through this moment because we have each other. We must lean on one another and our families now more than ever for comfort, confidence, and support. To the 183rd Academy class, I know you've built strong connections with your brother Twan during your time together. It's a connection that only officers who share in the rigors and the triumphs of an academy class can truly appreciate. It's a connection that stands the test of time. And I know with that connection, your hearts are heavy. I know you miss him. This heinous act is horrible, it's unthinkable, and although the dangers of this profession are real and the sacrifices are significant, it's not typical. I know that you'll continue forward honoring Officer Lay and his sacrifice by your actions and your service. I believe in you. Your OPD family will be here to help you and support you along the way. To Officer Lay's squad and his partner, Officer McKinney, who worked with Twan that tragic night, thank you for coming to Twan's aid and being there when he needed you most. You did everything you could to help him. You carried him to the hospital on your shoulders. You are heroes. Know that Twan loved you and he loved being part of the CRO team. As I said the morning I met with you, I know you're hurting. Tragic, heart-wrenching. Do not even begin to describe what happened. Words cannot do this moment justice. But I asked you to trust me. To trust me that we will come together in this moment to support each other and to ensure justice for our fallen brother and his family. I continue to believe that we will come out of this moment through love. The love you have for Twan, the love you have for his family, and the love you have for one another. To Sarah, Han, Twan's family, thank you for sharing Twan with us. We honor you and recognize your enduring sacrifice. We know the loss of a loved one is a tremendous burden to bear. Words cannot relieve your pain. However, my earnest hope is that as time passes, the memories and stories of Twan bring smiles and in time will help ease the grief and tears of loss. Here today, as you look around, you will see a massive show of support. It's because Twan is part of the OPD family and a larger law enforcement family. And to Sarah and Han, you are part of this vast network too. You are also and will always be part of our OPD family. We stand with you and we share in your grief. We will always be here for you and we will never forget you and we will never forget Twan, the life he lived or the sacrifice he made. May you find comfort with one another and with your OPD brothers and sisters. You know, it's been said that in our sacrifice and suffering, there's glory, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, and character hope. But hope can be difficult to realize in sorrow, but rest assured, hope does exist. I see hope in the conquering of adversity, hope in humanity, hope there are courageous heroes like Twan willing to guard, defend, and hold the line. Hope in the fact that evil will not prevail as good women and men stand ready to face it. That's the hope. That's the love. That's the glory. So finally, to Twan, thank you, brother, for your laughter and love, your friendship and your service. Thank you for all the times you covered us and supported us, your brothers and sisters in law enforcement. Thank you for all the times you answered the call. I know this was not how it was supposed to end, but you can rest easy. You have given us hope. You've given us love. You've held the line. You are a true hero. Just know we have the watch from here. Bless Twan, bless his family, bless the women and men of the Oakland Police Department.
Thank you, Chief. And now we hear a song, One Sweet Day. If not, I'll just go ahead and invite SSV after Chief Allison. So we'll just one day. All right, I'm not going to hear that then. We'll go ahead and At this time, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Key, Twan's cousin.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jennifer. I'm Twan's eldest cousin on his mom's side. His mom and my mom are sisters. I'm honored to be here to share some of his life's most monumental moments. At every family gathering, you could always rely on Twan being the one person who would come over to greet you. Whether you were close or if it was your first encounter, he always made an effort to make you feel like you could sit with him. Twan was born on June 1st, 1987 in Saigon, Vietnam. He was an only child raised by a single mother. Growing up, he had a favorite stuffy he called Big Bear. He loved school and was a dutiful son. His mom told me a story that she will never forget about him, which exemplifies the type of character he had. In October of 1995, when he was 7, they had the opportunity to move to the States. The day before moving, they were running around the city, wrapping up the last bit of errands. my aunt noticed Twan eyeing an apple at the market, and he seemed sad. Buying an apple wasn't a simple decision made on my aunt's behalf. Money didn't come easy for them. So for every dollar that went out, there was consideration of how to replace it. However, on this occasion, being that it was the last day he would be in Vietnam before heading to the States, she gave in and bought him the apple. If you know Twan, he has never been shy about eating. But for some reason, after my aunt bought him the apple, he decided to save it instead of eating it right then and there. My aunt was surprised. When they arrived home, Twan had the apple cut into pieces and shared it with his 2 cousins that they were living with, instead of having it all for himself. This was his way of parting ways with them. Sorry. This was the kind of person Twan was at 7 years old. And at 36 years old. From childhood to now, we will always remember Twan for his willingness to share his time, making the effort, and bringing us together. Twan moved from Vietnam and landed in Oakland and spent all of his youth here. He met his wife Sarah while attending Oakland High, then went on to San Francisco State University to get his bachelor's. Shortly after graduating, Twan and Sarah got their first dog, Lola. He took on lots of different jobs before becoming a police officer. Some jobs overlapped where he was going to school, working at a gas station, at IKEA. He would use his lunch break to nap in his car. He was determined to earn his way. In 2016, Twan and Sarah got engaged, and we made sure that he sealed the deal in 2018. In August 2019, he was accepted into the academy, and by February 2020, he was sworn into the Oakland Police Department. Twan's perseverance of becoming a police officer came to fruition. Rising to the occasion is something Twan did. His lifelong dream was fulfilled, following our grandfather's footsteps. A few days before Twan passed, he called his mom to catch up. He loved to tease and poke. So instead of saying his usual, "Hey, Mom," it was, "Hey, sister number 5. Vietnamese people labeled their siblings in sequence of birth order instead of names. So none of us actually ever know our aunts and uncles' names. This was his lighthearted way of love, and boy did he love his mom. He'd always poke fun. He was the lighthearted smile that came into the room. The person you could always count on to share a meal with. And the person who would make sure there was a place for you at the table. I will miss him coming through the door at family gatherings. Miss him at the table. And miss his warmth and cheerfulness. We want to thank Sarah for being his person for all these years, for accepting and loving him as much as we do, and for bringing out the best in him. We also want to thank the Oakland Police Department, his squad mates, his partner. Twan was so proud to be your brother, and we appreciate you all. Rest easy, Twan. We will always love you.
Thank you, Jennifer. This time I'd like to introduce Steve Lay, Twan's uncle.
Thank you. Good morning, all, and thank you for coming here today to celebrate the memorial ceremony of Officer Tuan Lee. On behalf of our family, my name is Steve Lay. Officer Tuan Lay is my nephew, and I am Twan's mom's older brother. It was so hard and miserable to live in the past week and ongoing. For the loss of our loved one, Officer Tuan Lee. First, our family would like to thank you so much to all Oakland Police Department, Alameda County Sheriff Department, all other law enforcement agencies around the country, fire department, doctors, nurses, and staff from Highland Hospital, Oakland Chapel of the Chimes, Funeral Home, community organizations, Fortu, and Haivang temples. Local and around the country's people, friends and relatives who show their love, cares, assistance, supports, and the condolences to our family from the beginning of the horrible and sorrow date, December 29, 2023. Throughout this memorial ceremony today for my nephew, Officer Tuan Lay. December 29, 2023 was a horrible and sorrow date for our family. About 7:15 a.m., I got a call from my family and was told that my nephew, Officer Tuan Lay, got shot on the live duty. I called and spoke with my sister Kathy, Han, Twan's mom, and learned that Twan was in the critical condition. I was picked up by Officer Seichao and rushed to Highland Hospital. I arrived at Highland Hospital around 8 a.m. and went up to Twan's room. Doctor told us that Twan's heartbeat was stopped. They cannot do anything more for Twan. No words can describe the pain in our heart at that moment and ongoing. Twan lay quietly. There was no miracle of life. And body was slowly getting colder. We all cried in pain. We were desperate in the extreme pain because we could not do anything to save Twan. We cannot believe what was in front of us and what was really too much to bear and suffering. Nothing can exchange for my nephew Twan's life. Officer Tuan Lee has gone too young and left behind a lot of his unfinished goals, dreams, and his beloved families behind. We were so sad, and our families are completely devastated. Officer Tuan Lee passed away and left behind so much grief, pain, and memories for family, friends, and his college and the public. Our family are fighting hard to overcome this pain and suffering. We hope that the law enforcement and the court try their best to return justice for Officer Tuan Lee. We'll miss you, Officer Tuan Lee, my nephew. We love you. We pray for you. Rest in peace, Officer Tuan Lee, my lovely nephew. From the deepest of our hearts, our families are appreciate and grateful to all and everyone here so much, and all the law enforcement, everyone, for all your love, care, help, support, and condolences. Please forgive us if there's any error during this tough time. Thank you so much. With our love, best regards. I'm going to say in Vietnamese too. Kính chào tất cả quý vị và xin cảm ơn sự hiện diện của quý vị trong buổi lễ tưởng niệm của sĩ quan cảnh sát Tuấn Lê hôm nay. Thay mặt cho gia đình của sĩ quan cảnh sát Tuấn Lê, tôi tên là Steve Lê. Tuấn là cháu tôi và gọi tôi bằng cậu. Trước tiên, gia đình chúng tôi chân thành cảm ơn tất cả mọi người vô cùng. Sở Cảnh sát Oakland, Sở Cảnh sát quận Alameda, Sở Cứu hỏa, tất cả các cơ quan thực thi pháp luật khác trên nước Mỹ, bác sĩ, y tá và các nhân viên từ Bệnh viện Highland, nhà tang lễ, Oakland Chapel of the Chimes, các tổ chức cộng đồng, chùa Phổ Từ và chùa Hải Vân. Người dân địa phương và khắp nơi, bạn thân hữu và người thân trong gia đình. Những người đã thể hiện tình yêu thương, sự quan tâm, giúp đỡ và hỗ trợ đối với gia đình của chúng tôi ngay từ ngày đầu, ngày kinh hoàng và đau buồn, ngày 29 tháng 12 năm 2023. Liên tục cho đến hôm nay, ngày lễ tưởng niệm cho cháu Tuấn Lê. Ngày 29 tháng 12 năm 2023 là ngày khủng khiếp và đau buồn vô cùng đối với gia đình chúng tôi. Khoảng 7:15 sáng, tôi nhận được cuộc gọi điện thoại từ gia đình và được biết tin xấu khi cháu Tuấn đang thi hành nhiệm vụ. Tôi gọi cho em gái tôi là Cathy Hạnh và đó là mẹ của Tuấn, và được biết Tuấn trong tình trạng nguy kịch. Tôi được sĩ quan cảnh sát xoay trao đón và đưa đến bệnh viện Highland. Tôi đến bệnh viện Highland khoảng 8 giờ sáng và lên phòng của Tuấn đang nằm. Bác sĩ nói với chúng tôi rằng nhịp tim của Tuấn đã ngừng đập và họ không thể làm gì được nữa. Không từ ngữ nào có thể diễn tả được nỗi buồn, đau khổ trong lòng chúng tôi lúc đó, hiện tại bây giờ và những ngày sắp tới. Chúng tôi tuyệt vọng trong đau đớn vô cùng vì không thể làm gì để có thể cứu sống cháu Tuấn. Chúng tôi không thể tin được những gì đang diễn ra trước mắt mình, và điều đó thực sự quá sức chịu đựng và đau khổ. Không có gì có thể đánh đổi được mạng sống con người. Sĩ quan cảnh sát Tuấn Lê ra đi khi còn quá trẻ và đã để lại rất nhiều dự tính, hoài bão và ước mơ còn dang dở, cũng như tràn ngập niềm tiếc nuối và nỗi đau buồn sâu thẳm trong trái tim của gia đình, bạn hữu, đồng nghiệp và công chúng. Không có từ nào có thể diễn tả hết được nỗi đau thương và mất mát này. Gia đình chúng tôi sẽ cố gắng hết sức để vượt qua giai đoạn thương tâm này. Và lần nữa, chúng tôi cũng mong rằng tất cả nhà thực thi pháp luật và tòa án sẽ trả lại sự công bằng này cho cháu Officer Tuấn Lê, sĩ quan cảnh sát Tuấn Lê. Sự thương yêu, lo lắng, giúp đỡ và hỗ trợ của quý vị là động lực to lớn cho gia đình chúng tôi trong lúc này. Cháu Tuấn, gia đình rất thương nhớ cháu, yêu thương cháu và cầu nguyện cho cháu được an nghỉ bình yên và siêu thoát. Cũng mong quý vị cùng gia đình chúng tôi cầu nguyện cho sĩ quan cảnh sát Tuấn Lê an nghỉ bình yên và hạnh phúc nơi miền vĩnh cửu. Gia đình chúng tôi chân thành cảm ơn tất cả quý vị đã thương yêu, giúp đỡ, lo lắng, hỗ trợ và chia sẻ sự bất bát đau buồn này của chúng tôi trong những ngày qua. Trong lúc tang gia bối rối, nếu có điều gì sơ suất, xin thông cảm bỏ qua cho. Thay mặt gia đình, xin chân thành cảm tạ, trân trọng kính chào. Xin cảm ơn. Thank you so much.
Come in. Thank you, Steve. This time I'd like to introduce Kenny Fung, Twan's brother-in-law.
Thank you all for being here, and thanks for those that are also supporting and watching online too. It's overwhelming when we walked in here, and we all stand in silence and to honor my brother-in-law. So very appreciative of everybody who's here. Today we honor a fallen hero. You know him as Officer Tuan, but he's truly my brother from another mother. And I often think about what was going through his head when he found out my sister Sarah not only have me as a brother, but not one, but two, but not three, but four older brothers before he even started dating her. I just want to talk about his love, and just was he so enamored in it that it didn't matter. And as big brothers, we wouldn't be doing our jobs right if we weren't at least giving Twan a little good old-fashioned pat down. Does he even have a strategy on how he's going to approach her four big brothers? And then from my cousins sharing yesterday, my youngest one is hot-headed. We grilled him. And it's not just from us he has to win over. Sarah has some cousins. And they all went to the same school, and they are tight like sisters. They're so tight with each other, they even form a gang of their own. I'm talking about having a secret name for themselves, all getting the same tattoo, that kind of gang. So needless to say, Twan has his work cut out for him. But to make a long story short, he remained loyal and stayed true to his intention, and he wasn't afraid or scared off by any of us. They went to the senior ball together. They started dating that summer, and but not sure what it was. Was it a thought of just not wanting to piss us off, or he simply knew that he loved Sarah with his heart, with his whole heart, and he pursued her with his love that is few and far between. I also love the fact that he proposed to my sister while they were on a cruise with a couple of my brothers and their family and my parents. They got to witness this. And just to speak to whether or not Twan has this whole strategy thought out, he was asking my brothers what would be a good place, a good occasion to propose. They found a secluded beach. Twan took Sarah on a walk right along the beach, right where the ocean and the waves meet the sand. I think my brothers weren't as prepared, and by the time they realized it, he was already getting down on his knees. He proposed to my sister, and she said yes, and you can just tell how happy that made him. And then the next thing that he wanted to do is to make sure my brother got a good picture of it, so he recreated that scene right away. He wants to remember that moment. They have a rather comical relationships, and me being around them, it's like watching a sitcom. They like to joke around with each other, get on each other's nerves. They go on all these outdoors adventures. And from what I hear, my sister is not the most outdoor type of person. So it made it easy for Twan. Twan waited for her, on these hikes. They enjoyed the nature. And when they're just chilling at home, you can be sure you'll see Twan in his hoodies, a hat or a beanie, and his Crocs. They make such a wonderful couple together, and Twan takes so good care of my sister, and she is the love of his life. He also have other loves. They also have their 2 dogs, Lola and Bixby. Lola, who they've had for over 10 years, and every time I see her, it just breaks your heart seeing how much his best friend she misses her best friend. And they have such a wonderful bond together. And I can't ask for a better brother-in-law than Twan. But selfishly, the years together as a family just didn't feel like it was enough. Though he's not particularly into sports, I appreciate him watching along with us whenever a game is on. He would get excited about a play or a call like 5 seconds after we were done yelling at the TV. It's like a light bulb that just came on. But again, that's just what I love about him. And, the squad mates or the stories we've heard, you guys could attest to this. He may not be the quickest, smartest guy in the room, but when he gets it, when he learns something new language, that light bulb comes on. He gets excited for you. And he'll use it, he'll run with it, and he'll become your biggest and loudest cheerleader on your sideline. He loved all his nieces and nephew, and always make it a point to attend all their birthdays and gatherings despite having an overnight shift and a busy schedule. And he has a lot of them. He has a lot of nieces and nephews. Again, he loves being their biggest and loudest cheerleader. You can see him in the back, like in the audience like this, and his voice will be the loudest and the biggest, and when it's all quiet. He loves going to their niece's piano recital performance. What touched me was when him and Sarah came out to support my daughter's first popcorn sales with the Cub Scout. My daughters didn't like it, but Twan and Sarah made it bearable. It's good to see it. Family member there. He bought every flavor there was. And I love him for that. I know they will all miss their Uncle Twan. And to me, he's a big, huggable marshmallow. And to all your kids out there, he's like a Baymax from Big Hero 6. Big, huggable, but a superhero. We love him. Even though he was big, we love him more because he had an even bigger heart. He never misses an opportunity. He always gives us a big hug right before he leaves for his shift. And we always want him to come home safely as we were giving him the hug. Even though I am his big brother, he always watched over me and my family like the bigger brother, walking us to our cars, making sure we get in safely. I know this news hit his friends just as hard, but I'm glad that both Sarah and Twan have such good friends, as I can tell by the pictures, the slideshows that was shown in the past few days. He knew how to have fun, and we love seeing all the pictures and all the travelings you guys did together and living life to its fullest. Twan's stories is truly remarkable, as you heard from Twan's cousin. If you get to hear about his upbringing and how he had to endure a whole lot of challenges and setbacks, and was pretty much raised only by his mom. In return, he wants to be able to take care of his mom as she did, raising him by herself. And Twan's mom shared with me that in a recent call that Twan made, he told her that if anything should happen to him, he wants to make sure Sarah's taken care of. He persevered and worked hard on providing for his family. No matter what the work entailed, starting out as a security guard, finally graduating from the academy, and becoming an officer for the Oakland Police Department. And he wore that badge proudly, serving the people in the city he grew up in. I know what he does for the city of Oakland and his community is not just self-serving, but a selfless act of love and sacrifice. To his family and to my sister, we love Twan very much and accepted him as our own. And I know Twan is not the one to take a handout. We are all very proud of you, what you have accomplished and what you stood for. And if Twan has made an impact on you in a positive way, I encourage you to carry on his legacy to impact those around you, whatever it is, whether it be lending an ear to listen, or stopping to help someone on the road, or if you change your mind about buying some Crocs. Do it because that's what Twan would have done. We are all very sad to see you go, but we cherish all the times we had together and remembered you for all of our lives.
Thank you, Kenny. At this time, I would ask all of you to remain in your places for the flag and badge ceremony and presentation.
much more left to say if you were with me today, face to face.
You, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Good girl. Get in the
We've come a long way from where we began.
Good girl.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. That I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days, hard work forever pays. Now I see you in a better place. See you in a better place. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way, from where we began.
You know we started.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
I'll tell you.
When I see you again.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond. And that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn. And that line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Let the light guide your way. Yeah. Hold every memory as you go. And every road you take will always lead you home.
At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Vold back for closing remarks.
Thank you, Father Jason. This has been a very powerful service, and it's been our privilege and honor to host this service today. Over the years, we've had the privilege of hosting services like this, and they're always so amazing and so moving, and we trust that every heart has been touched today by Twan's story. Thank you, family, and for those who shared in tributes today. As I leave this platform and Father Jason comes and gives us our closing remarks and instructions for what will follow, I just want to remind everybody of this one simple truth, and that is that here at Three Crosses, we are here for you. And when I say that, what I mean is that God is here for you. People have asked us many times, and here's a little insider's knowledge of Three Crosses. Why do we have 3 crosses out on the end of our property? Is it because that represents the triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? Is it because Jesus was crucified between 2 thieves on crosses? Is it that reason? Actually, the simple reason why there's 3 crosses at the edge of our property is that we wanted anyone, anywhere, wherever he or she was going to or coming from, if they were driving by this facility, that they would see a cross. It's configured in such a way that in any direction you can see a cross. And that's because the cross is God's demonstration of love for humanity. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. Whoever believes in him would not perish but have everlasting life. And so as you leave this place today, please know that you don't need to be in a church to connect with your Creator. He loves you, and he's made a way for you. And we've been so honored to host this service today, and we pray for God's blessing and favor and protection over all of the law enforcement officers here and for families and friends. We cherish this moment, and we're so grateful. Thank you, Father Jason.
Pastor Vold, thank you, and thank you for your hospitality and allowing us to be here this afternoon. On behalf of the Oakland Police Department family, and especially on behalf of Twan's family, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your presence here today. Your thoughts, your prayers, and your support have been deeply appreciated in these difficult times. Everyone is invited to a reception immediately following the flyover tribute. The reception will be held in the gym next door. We will have everyone vacate the church to be in a formation outside before the family exits. Please be courteous and patient with your ushers and fellow attendees while trying to empty the church. Please follow the directions given, and you'll be instructed by our ushers on how to exit the church. And after our final song this afternoon, Oakland Police Department personnel will exit first, and all other uniformed personnel will form up outside the church. Everyone else will follow afterwards, and the family will exit last. And now we'll hear Memories from Maroon 5.
Here's to the ones
This formally concludes our memorial service. I would invite you to stand. Deputy Chief Beer, take charge of your detail and complete your duties.
Yes, sir. Open uniform. Detail. Covers off. Officers, take your place. Stand by. Detail. Odds and move. Hold the files. March.
All right, you're watching the conclusion of the memorial service for Officer Tuan Lay. We heard from several notables during the memorial service, including the interim police chief of the Oakland Police Department, Darren Ellison, who said that Tuan Lay's DNA, being a police officer, was in his DNA, and he was in fact following in his grandfather's footsteps, who had been a police officer in Vietnam. His cousin, Jennifer Key, had really an emotional recount of the days before the family immigrated to the United States. She talked about the work that he did before he ever became a police officer in his younger years. He worked at IKEA while in school. He got engaged in 2016 to his wife, Sarah, before getting accepted into the police academy in 2019. And we also heard from his brother-in-law, too, who said he would give his family a big hug before his shift, really highlighting that he understood the dangers that he would face every day when he stepped out of that door to continue his work as a police officer. Our continuing coverage of the service and the memorial of the service here that you've watched here, we'll have right now on the news, a delayed edition of the KTVU Fox 2 News at noon, starting now.
This is KTVU Fox 2 News at noon.
Good afternoon. I'm Andre Sr.
I'm Gassia Mikaelian. You've been with us as the community's been saying goodbye to an Oakland police officer slain in the line of duty. 36-year-old Twan Lay was shot and killed while working undercover, responding to a burglary at a cannabis business last month south of Jack London Square. Hundreds and hundreds of law enforcement officers and members of the community gathered in Castro Valley for a memorial service in honor of his life.
We have team coverage of today's memorial service. KTVU's Ali Rasmus has a look at the tributes throughout the morning as law enforcement arrived. But first, let's go to KTVU's Henry Lee for more from the emotional service in his honor. Henry.
Well, this memorial service has just wrapped up at Three Crosses Church in Castro Valley. You can see officers, deputies from across the region getting ready to line up in formation for a final salute to Officer Tuan Lay. Officer Lay remembered today as a son of Oakland, a compassionate and caring hero who had much more to do and much more to give. Now, hundreds of Oakland police officers and law enforcement officers across the region gathered at this church in Castro Valley to honor fallen Officer Tuan Lay. Oakland police stood in formation in the rain as a procession with his casket arrived at the church. A large American flag was draped in between two fire trucks outside. Now, outside agencies are patrolling Oakland streets this morning to allow the department to grieve. Lay was shot and killed the morning of December 29th while responding to a burglary at a cannabis business along Oakland's Embarcadero. He was working undercover and in plain clothes driving an unmarked car. 2 men have been arrested and charged with murder. Officer Lay was born 36 years ago in Saigon, Vietnam, and became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 2001. He graduated from the 183rd Oakland Police Academy in 2020 and served as a community resource officer in West Oakland. And just 2 weeks before he was killed, Lay received a department medal for helping to save the life of another officer. Today, we heard from State Attorney General Rob Bonta, Interim Oakland Police Chief Darren Allison, and several relatives of the officer, including a cousin of Lay.
He loved this city, and that this city loved him. Officer Lay was hardworking, dependable, driven by a desire to keep his neighbors safe. As Chief Law Enforcement Officer to this great state, as a former legislative representative of Oakland and a proud member of this community, I can ask for nothing more.
And Officer Lay personified what it was to exude a deep compassion for his law enforcement family and the community he chose to serve. But he wasn't just a compassionate and courageous police officer. He was a devoted and loving husband to his wife, Sarah, a loving son to his mother, Han, and a proud grandson to his grandfather, Mr. Lay.
From childhood to now, we will always remember Twan for his willingness to share his time, making the effort and bringing us together.
Now back out here live in the parking lot of Three Crosses Church here in Castro Valley. Officers from across the region have lined up in formation. They are preparing for a final salute as Officer Lay's flag-draped casket is brought outside and then put into another procession that will take him for a private burial. Right now, again, Oakland police officers are being allowed to grieve. The streets of Oakland being patrolled by outside agencies. That's the latest in Castro Valley. Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Henry, thank you. The full parking lot of the church in Castro Valley where Lee's memorial was held highlighted the show of support from law enforcement officers. The number of people who attended even resulted in traffic being temporarily stopped. KTVU's Allie Rasmus joins us now live outside that church. Allie?
Yeah, Andre, from as far north as Redding to as far south as San Diego County, officers from across California came to this memorial to pay their respects. Officers on motorcycles from dozens of police agencies escorted the hearse carrying the casket of Officer Tuan Lay, the Oakland police officer killed on the job on December 29th while responding to a robbery at a cannabis dispensary in Oakland.
It hits home. I come from a law enforcement family. When one of our officers falls, it really affects all of us.
Juan Carmona is with the National Latino Police Officers Association of Alameda County.
We have many OPD officers in our association. It means the world to see officers from all over California, outside of California, to come here and show support.
A rainbow stretched overhead above the Three Crosses Church as officers from other departments walked, drove, and even arrived on horseback to fill the 3,000 seats in the church for the memorial. Lay had been with OPD for 4 years and had previously worked as a police department community resource officer. A retired Oakland police officer, Frank Lowe, spoke fondly of him.
He was just so in touch with the community, and that's what I see with most of these young officers. Okay, they really want to contribute and do something for our Oakland community.
And now that the memorial has concluded just in the last 15 minutes or so, some of the attendees are staying on for a reception happening at the church. Others, as you can see, are now getting ready to leave the Three Crosses Church in Castro Valley at the conclusion of this memorial. Live in Castro Valley, Allie Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Allie, thank you for that live report. We'll have much more coverage online and coming up later this hour and in the news at 4 as well.
Following some breaking news now out of Tahoe, where we've learned about an avalanche at Palisades Tahoe Ski Resort. Happened on the Palisades side of the mountain around 9:30 this morning above the GS Gully area of the KT-22 lift. It's an expert run. Crews are performing a search of the mountain at this time. Placer County Sheriff's deputies also